Hello everyone, my name is Denis Ananev. Greetings from coldy and snowy Finland. I really appreciate all of us who can visit us in this corona situation time, but we can talk with us without any mask, without any restrictions, and talk about interesting themes. As Arthur mentioned, I'm an enthusiast Zabbix, and I'm not a Zabbix team member, but I've been working with Zabbix for 10 years, from version 2.0 to current version 5.2. And I want to admit that Zabbix moved a great step from this time shift and achieve big results and achieve big changes in the infrastructure monitoring level. And I want to share my knowledge, and I want to share my experience with working in Zabbix, and want to discuss my happiness and disenchantments with this new version, because all of them, all products has different approach to user interface and applying minor features and major features, and Zabbix not included. Zabbix also include many features in every release, and I want to admit that it's a good approach to communicate with community, to listen, use Zabbix users and add features which they want by next release, and don't pay money for this, because Zabbix only open source for all features is included out of the box. You don't need to pay for pro version or maybe for business version or community version. You can download Zabbix sources or packages from official site and use it in your enterprise or your home lab and test it or apply changes, or maybe suggest your changes, and Zabbix is good in this case. So Zabbix for me is only tool, and as an infrastructure engineer, practical engineer, I use Zabbix for different ways, only for infrastructure layer, and I will share my knowledge about infrastructure monitoring and about plus and cons in this way. So I don't want to talk about some configuration side, installation side or others. I will talk about only user interface, about some features which were added to this 5 release, and which is really cool and which is not cool, sorry. And let's share my screen and try to explain which I like and which I don't like from my side. So I want to share some presentation or not. I will share live installation and try to show all points on this live installation, because slides is really cool, but sometimes people want to know how it works in production, how it works in real life. So in this case, I will share my screen and show in real installation what I like. So okay, I share my screen. So this is a central dashboard for Zabbix version 5.2. You can see here, and it's, you can see that it's totally different from all previous Zabbixes, from version 2, 3, and 4, and probably who uses version 1 and less. It's totally different, because now we have a vertical menu for most menu cases, and we have this vertical menu is floating. You can use these buttons for go left and right, and hide this menu if you don't want. And so this is global view dashboard. You can see that you can see problems is here, problems by severity is here. We don't have this opportunity to choose problems by severity in previous installations, and the system information is here. As I want to concretize in this release, the main features of this, you can configure some of them, especially in problems. window. For example, the main feature which I really like, it's that you can choose how many lines you can see in the problems panel. Previously, you can see only 20 problems in your dashboard, and for changing this parameter, you needed to go to Zabbix source code and change these parameters in source code, and you needed some PHP knowledge for this, but now you can change this value in show lines and see how many problems you can see in this problems view. It's really convenient because sometimes when your infrastructure is really enormous and approximately 200 problems per day, and especially when Zabbix server is down and some problems is here and fill all your dashboard, and you can't see previous problems without any going to the last menu or last values. You can choose these values and use it as you want. Also, you can check only severity which you want to use and see the problems with this severity only. Or text, you can use this text here and show text only which you want to use. As for my practical approach, it's really convenient for Zabbix engineers or duty shift admins, because sometimes duty admins don't need to monitor all infrastructure. They need to monitor only some servers or some databases or some middleware layers. In this case, you can see that you can choose host groups for different layers, or you can choose text for different layers and show these problems only for you. And click apply button, it works for double clicks. So it's a really good thing. I want to underline this. Also, there are many another opportunities and there are many another features you can use for your everyday jobs as an engineer. And for me, it's really cool. For example, if you go to configuration hosts, you can see that many new features added here. For example, you can filter some hosts for using these fields, and it's really cool because you can choose only hosts which monitor in specific proxy, or using hosts using specific tags. It's really cool because in previous version you don't have this opportunity. You don't choose hosts by separate proxy because we don't have this one, and it was really hard to understand which proxy monitors this host, especially if you have approximately 1,000 or 2,000 hosts for monitoring, and you needed to go by different pages and found this information. And now it's here, and you can use it. Really cool. So this is filter menu is really nice for everyday work, because you can filter all of them and use this. So another case for configuration which really improved in Zabbix version 5, and which you can use also for everyday, it's items execute now and test button. For example, if you click on one item which collect data, for example, for CPU, you can use execute now and test button and test some values which we take without waiting this update interval and take values immediately. For example, if you click test button, you can get value right now from remote host. You can see here, value is here, and you can understand does this correct or no. And for example, you can check do you choose correct type for your data collection, because if you choose a different value type. For example, if you choose not numerical information but string or another type of information, you can click test button and check do this data for this item has a correct data type or no. So it's really good to test values right now for this menu. Also, if you want to pull request to remote host and return data back without any waiting from Zabbix side, you need to click execute now button, and you can see that request to remote host sent successfully, and you can take data in the latest data right now without also waiting this update interval. I want to concretize this because some data, for example, statical data like as host name or another information like as operation system name, don't need to collect very often. You need to collect them once per day or once per hour, but you probably don't want to stay and online and stay on this item and try to understand when that data will be collected. You can click this two button and use them for collecting data immediately. So it's really make easy your engineer's life in everyday job. So I want to underline that it's these tools, these two buttons will work only in Zabbix 5 and won't work in the previous version. So another case which I mentioned in my brain about new features about a new Zabbix configuration tool, it's discovery rules. For example, if we had these discovery rules for discovering some information from Linux server, like as mountain file system discovery or network interface discovery, in the previous life, we also needed to stay online and wait how data will be collected and when the data will be collected for this update interval. But now we also have this execute now and test button. So you don't want to wait this update interval and get values right now. For example, if you click test button, so you can see right now we get all data types and all file system names for all partitions on this server. And you can see this is a JSON array, and you can check what data you need and what data you don't need, and using regular expressions, exclude data which you really want. So it's only in Zabbix 5, and it's a really good step for Zabbix team to realize this execute now and test now button for all menus. Also, in previous life, when we went to item prototypes, we can't change anything massively. So if you will need to change, for example, if you would need to change something like free nodes or space utilization or total space item prototypes in previous version, you needed to go to separate item, change values, for example, here or here. And after this, you need to go to the next items and go down, go through all items. It's really easy to do now using mass update buttons. For example, if you click all items, you can see that mass update button is available now, and you can mass update all items in one step. For example, if you can see here, you can change all intervals here. For example, we can change update interval for all items to 15 minutes. Click update, and you can see all update intervals are changed. In the previous versions, we have mass update only for items and for triggers, some triggers characteristics. But now we have these for item prototypes. And because item prototypes are used very often in our everyday life, for example, for discovering data by SNMP, because SNMP is collecting data, as you know, for network devices or storage devices. And these item prototypes are really important for these devices because these storage devices and network devices contains many items. For example, as I had previously, NetApp storage, I had about 1,500 items, and it was really difficult to change, for example, update interval and history for this enormous number of items. But now you can click mass update, change mass update in data for item prototypes, and it will apply for all items by seconds. So it's really good. It's really good. I want to underline this too. So also, what I mentioned in Zabbix 5 version, what really put my attention on this, it's maintenance. Maintenance was a headache for many ages, for many Zabbix engineers and for Zabbix administrator, because in this window, for example, in the Zabbix version .4, we had 3 menus for maintenance. For example, maintenance, periods, host groups, and some administrator who don't use Zabbix in everyday life. For example, Windows administrators or Linux administrators, which use Zabbix only for monitoring their stuff, can't do these maintenance periods well, because they only choose this period and active scenes and period active till and click add button, and they supposed that it's done. But after this, when maintenance period was run, they asked me about, Denis, why our data collection and maintenance weren't work correctly, because we choose active scenes, active till time for our work. For example, we needed to change memory module in the data center, and we went to data center at 8 o'clock and started changing this RAM module, and this job wasted about 2 hours, and we choose active till 10 a.m. But surprisingly, it's won't work. Why? They asked me. But in this Zabbix 5, Zabbix team made this approach different and use separate menu for all items for which previously was in free menus. For example, if you want to create maintenance now, you can see it's only one window with all parameters is here. But I want to underline that for most cases, this active scenes in this active till is not correct time for your downtime. You don't need to choose these parameters for your downtime. Your downtime fixes here. You need to choose your downtime here. For example, if you go to data center in 10 minutes today, you need to choose correct time here, and choose here how many hours you can, for example, replace your memory module. So, and you can see now it's here. This is a bit unthinkable, but you need to put your attention on this. It's maybe it's not user friendly, but in other case, you won't take your maintenance period correct, and you can give a call from duty admins, and you can call from others engineers when they take their alerts about your module memory replacements. So this is plus and cons for maintenance period from Zabbix team. You can see that we can have now not user-friendly interface for maintenance period because you can't choose date and time correctly for starting maintenance and finishing maintenance. But I suppose that if you make this maintenance period more times, it will be clear for all of us. So this is questions for Zabbix team, how they think about change this user interface for maintenance period and make them more friendly for user during next releases, and probably they can use many widgets for this in next version. I really hope that it's will be done. So this is my positive moments, and I want to say some probably cons which I faced down with Zabbix during my everyday job. For example, some problems are really inherited from all versions and don't changes from version 2 to version 5. For example, if you go to users menu, you can see that we can't change anything from there. You can't clone users for same characteristics and use only name and surname for different users, but save groups, save media or permissions for him. You need to create each user separately. And if you have approximately 1,000 users or more, it's really a headache to create these users manually if you don't know about Zabbix API or if you don't about Ansible. It's really hard to create these roles. Also, I mentioned that Zabbix don't have any mechanisms for import LDAP users and LDAP groups. It's really hard to create and synchronize these accounts with, for example, Active Directory or Okta or other service catalogs, because sometimes you can change your surname, or you can move from to different department, and the Active Directory administrator will change this, but Zabbix administrator won't know about this, and this is a synchronized gap from two systems will be grow for many ages. So it's also a bad thing from Zabbix user side. So I really recommend Zabbix team to pay their attention on this Zabbix users and Zabbix groups and synchronize this with service catalogs, because in 21st century, all users are stored in this Active Directory or in other service catalog systems. So this is a main bad point for me. So also you can't use some your obvious things in the Zabbix menu. For example, if you go to Zabbix menu, you can see that there are approximately 3 hosts menu in different layers. For example, monitoring hosts, inventory hosts, and configuration host. And some newbies can be messed with this because they won't know what menu they need to use to configure monitoring, and what menu they need to use for collecting data, and what monitoring they need to use for in other ways, for example, for collecting inventory data. So I think it will be better to union or merge this menu host in one menu, and make this menu more complex, and save data in only one. Also, the last bad point, what I want to underline in the menu configuration, for example, in previous version we had drop-down list for host groups and for templates, and now we use only this select button. It's a bit inconvenient because in previous versions were really easy to find host group or templates using this drop down. But now, if you don't want anything about host groups, you need to use this select button and choose host from here. It's a bit tricky and a bit difficult to newbies too. So this is my way on the current Zabbix installation. If you have any questions to the practical approach for something, you can ask me in chat or Q&A section. I will share my own expertise with this from practical side of view. don't hesitate, ask me about something, and be healthier in Corona time. Really hard time for all of us on different countries and different continents, but use Zabbix and keep calm. Thanks for